Hi, and welcome to the Upstate Roots podcast. My name is David Bliss, and I am the founder of 11A Media Group. To my left, I have Melissa Cowart, broker in charge of Redgate Realty. And to her left, I have Joel Ridings, a loan mortgage banker with Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. Everybody say hi. Did I do okay on that one?
Yeah,
you did good.
Okay, cool. We are coming to you guys from Flynn's on Maxwell in Greenwood, South Carolina. They were nice enough to let us do our podcast here, and we grabbed a couple beers. I've got the Vine Stefano. Missy has the
Ballast Point.
Ballast Point, and Joel grabbed the
Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada. So let's start off. We're gonna talk to Joel and kind of find out more about him. Joel, where are you from? How'd you get here? What brought you here, and what got you into mortgage banking?
So originally I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I was born and raised there for the first, 5 or 6 years of my life. My dad was in the military, so we moved to Washington State for a while.
So you're from a ways away.
Yeah, exactly. So did a tour in Washington State, and then he transferred to Rota, Spain.
Okay.
I lived over there for a couple years and graduated high school. Went back to Alabama for college, and lived in Mobile, Alabama for a few more years, and then just kind of wanted to change, wanted something different. So I moved up to Anderson, South Carolina, and where I got my first job in finance, just doing consumer loans, cars, boats, motorcycles, things like that. Got promoted and sent to Greenwood in 2009, and I've been here ever since. Got into mortgage banking about 4 years ago. I was the vice president at the commercial bank in Due West and Donald's, and then
I went to Erskine, so I'm very familiar with
there you go.
Due West.
Yeah.
I used to have an account there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Probably before my time, but
Probably. Yeah.
So left there 2 years ago and opened up Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group here in Greenwood.
Okay. Cool. Missy? Let's talk about if somebody wanted to go through kind of the process to get to a lender, and Joel. What's the process? When do you start even looking for a loan? Like, is it? Do you advise that people start before they even find a house, or is this something where once you kind of find the place, you should go and get a loan kind of pre-qualified?
I always recommend that you start with the mortgage lender before you start shopping and getting your heart set on something that may or may not be in your price range. I always usually recommend, if possible, stay with a local lender. That way, there's no excuse of, I didn't get the fax that you sent me. You can actually go into the office, just like Joel, he's right here in Greenwood, bring the stack of papers to him and say, you scan it and you send it off. But yeah, the mortgage lender is like the very first step. You can contact a realtor. I love it when people contact me first, because I have preferred people that I've had experience with working with lenders, and usually your realtor is going to have a list of lenders that they have worked transactions successfully with that they can provide you some guidance on.
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate on that a little bit, there's nothing wrong with going and seeing Melissa and letting her know what you're looking for, so she can kind of start taking a look at the market and seeing what's going on. But, you really want to come talk to a lender first, because if you, let's say you go and you find this house and it's $250,000 or $200, whatever it may be, and you love this house and it's everything you ever wanted, and you put in an offer and then you go talk to your lender afterwards, there may be something that came up on your credit you weren't aware of, or your income didn't quite qualify you for that much, and then next thing you know, like, all your hopes and dreams are gone and you're upset. So get with your lender first, make sure you're prepared before you go out and start looking at houses.
Well, even if you are going to be looking maybe next year or 6 months out, I always say go ahead and contact a lender, because like Joel's great about looking at their credit and saying, hey, this is going to cause you some problems. These are some ways that you can go ahead and, step up that credit score by, doing X, Y, and Z. So it's always a good idea to go ahead as early as you can and start working with your lender to get yourself ready.
Yeah, it's never too early to get in touch with me and let me know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your experience been owning a business here in Greenwood?
For me personally, I've lived in Greenwood for about 10 years. It's a bit of a smaller town, and I'm not from here. So the first few months, it took a little bit of time for me to kind of get to know people and get them to know who I am as a business owner. And to get them to trust me. And that's kind of the biggest thing is people have to trust you. It's not really the good old boy system where they're not going to send me anything because they don't know me,
Right.
but they also want to know that I'm going to take care of their clients and things like that. And once that trust was built, business kind of took off for me. So I've really enjoyed it and really enjoyed being part of Greenwood.
What's the housing market like here? And you can
want that?
You can take it.
Well, I guess first, before we get into that, what are the areas that you service?
I do.
How far do you go?
Anywhere in South Carolina. So I'm licensed in South Carolina. I can do a loan anywhere in South Carolina. I'm not really one of those lenders that tries to go all over the state and pull loans from all over the place. I tend to focus all my business really in Greenwood and surrounding areas like Greenwood, Abbeville, Hodges, sometimes Lawrence, 96, stuff like that. And if I have clients looking in Greenville or, Charleston or whatever, of course I'm glad to service them, but I do like being a local person, like Melissa said. So if they need something, they can come and sit down and talk to me face to face and just kind of build up that comfort level and that trust.
Right. Okay, so you do a lot of work in the Upstate. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's fair to say, right?
Yeah.
What is the market specifically in the Upstate like for buying and selling homes right now? How's it doing?
It's a little crazy, I guess would be a good way to put it. We had
a shutdown recently.
Yeah, we did. We had a government shutdown, which affected USDA, which is pretty big in this area. The only thing it really did was it caused some delays. Me and Melissa actually had one that we'd been working with for a while. I had him approved. We
heard a lot about it.
Yeah, we had everything done. Like, this guy was ready to go. We were just waiting on a couple little things, and then all of a sudden, was it 3 or 4 days before you scheduled to close?
Yes.
Government shut down.
Right.
And at that point, with USDA being shut down, there's nobody there. So It's not like I can call and say, hey, can you knock this out for me real quick?
Right.
There's nothing you can do. So we waited.
How far was the pushback on that?
About 25 days.
I think so.
Yeah, right. A little less than 30.
Yeah.
But things recovered since then? I mean,
oh, yeah. I mean, it was, I was actually surprised at how quick they got back to it. As soon as they reopened, they were on it. I mean, it was like they were pushing files out. Now, it took, 6 or 7 days to get the commitments out.
Right.
But for how long they had been out and how backlogged they were, they did a really good job. So props to USDA for that. Appreciate it.
Sure.
They did work very hard once they got back.
Have you guys noticed a dip in the market at all?
I noticed it slowed down at the end of last year, but it's definitely recovering, and it's picking back up really fast.
So maybe a little bit of that shutdown related.
I am assuming it was.
I think so. I think a lot of people just kind of put everything on pause.
Sure.
But I've definitely had an uptick in applications. People looking for houses. We have a huge list of people that are pre-qualified and ready to buy but just can't find a house. So really the biggest issue with the housing market right now isn't a lack of buyers, it's a lack of people selling their house.
The quality of houses that are remaining.
Yeah.
Now, see, that's something interesting to bring into it. So it's not just the amount of houses, it's actually the quality of the houses.
Yes.
So, and that brings me to kind of the next topic. What products do you guys offer? Do you lend on anything? Is it do you do farms? Do you do land? Do you do commercial property?
Yeah, so we're only a residential lender, so we don't do any commercial properties.
Sure.
We will do investment properties, like if you want to buy a house and rent it out, we do stuff like that. We don't do any land only loans. Those are kind of few and far between anyway. So if you're wanting something like that, just probably one of like the small, like a credit union or just a small community bank would be your go-to. But we can do farms, we can do, any type of residential property. We do FHA, conventional, USDA, VA, all your typical loans. Plus we have a couple different types of renovation loans. So to kind of go back to what she said, people are wanting these move-in ready houses and they're just not there for Greenwood. A lot of the houses in Greenwood are older. They're still good, solid houses, but they're not updated. So the renovation loan gives people the option of financing the cost of the renovations to get the house that they really want upgraded. So it kind of helps out a little bit.
Are you guys seeing some more new builds coming to the area?
Yeah, there's the the Milford Pine subdivision is going up. It's been pretty successful so far. I know there's some new builds going on in Hunters Creek, and I've heard some talk of a couple other things, but I don't know details or when it's going to happen.
Seems like it's really picking up, though.
Yeah, it is.
Have you heard of any secret new residential areas being built up?
If it was secret, would I tell you?
So you talked about quality. What do you guys look for in a home that you're going to lend on?
Typically, we're going to go off what the appraiser says. So if the appraiser says that there's any safety concerns, like exposed wiring or, saggy floors or termite damage, leaky roofs, anything like that that could be detrimental to the buyer. If they move into this house and everything shorts out and the house catches on fire, that's obviously a huge issue. So electrical inspections, plumbing inspections, and things like that. Sorry, wasn't ready for that. That's the Flynn's mascot there. He's pretty awesome.
Milo.
He is intense.
Yeah. But anyway.
What do you guys look for? What do you guys look for in a home? Yeah, I know he kind of shocked us all out of that question.
Yeah. So really, just to make it simple on everybody, is we look for structural integrity.
Right.
The cosmetic stuff. If the shag carpet and the outdated appliances, we don't really care as long as everything functions.
Right.
But like I said, the structural integrity of the house is the biggest thing that we're concerned with.
Yeah, he is mad.
He doesn't like that at all.
I noticed earlier when I walked in, I was wearing a black jacket, and he did not like that at all. So I think he just doesn't like the guy has a black jacket on right now. Anyway, moving on.
What I was going to add to that is
Yeah, go ahead.
if you are looking to buy a house, ask your realtor those questions because a lot of times your realtor is going to see enough appraisals come back that there's going to be obvious things that stick out to them. And if you can walk through a house and kind of go, this might work, but I'm concerned about the chipping paint, you might be able to address those issues before the appraisal's ordered.
Yeah, exactly.
So go ahead and get those issues that would prevent the loan from going through taken care of during your due diligence period.
Yeah, and a good experienced realtor is going to be able to walk you through that.
They're like a guide.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's what they're there for. So
Right. So what is kind of the process that somebody would go through when they come to you and they say, hey, we got a place, we want to go through a loan? Like, what's kind of the qualification process? What do they need to kind of show you? What do they need to demonstrate as a potential buyer? And how do you have anything that helps them along that path? Do you guys have any type of services that maybe help credit repair or anything like that?
yeah, so typically your two biggest things when qualifying for a house are credit and ability to repay the loan.
Right.
So without the credit history to show that you can repay stuff, it's going to come into question. And then of course you have to have enough income to pay the loan back along with all your other debts. So we have to make sure that you're secure when you're buying this house, that it's a good decision for us to lend you this money. Typically what we do is I'll pre-qualify somebody based off the information that they tell me over the phone. We'll go through a series of questions. I'll ask them about their income, how long they've been at their job, how long they've been where they're living at now, whether they rent or live with family, how much they're paying, and all based off of all that, I'll pull their credit and just kind of match up the income and the debts and all that stuff. And as long as everything looks good and there's no kind of iffy income scenarios, I can go ahead and say, hey, look, this is a solid loan. Here's a pre-qualification letter. But another thing that I like to do, instead of just saying, here, you're pre-qualified, go buy a house, I'll go ahead and get all the documents from somebody up front while they're looking, tax returns, bank statements, just to fine-tune everything before they buy a house. And then that way, when they go under contract, we know 100% that they're good to go, that there's no questions.
How far do you go back?
2 years.
2 years.
On taxes. Now, bank statements is 60 days, pay stubs is 30 days, so...
And if I was looking to buy a house and I decided I wanted that brand new shiny truck outside of the dealership, what would you advise against purchases like that, or other things that people might do kind of in that period where you've approved them or you pre-approved them, but there's some space there before the closing? What would you kind of
Don't buy the truck.
advise?
I tell people basically put everything on hold. Don't spend any money that you don't have to spend. Don't buy anything. Don't go to Lowe's and pick out new appliances. Don't go, to the furniture place and get all new furniture, because every time you go and somebody runs your credit, it notifies us that your credit's been pulled. And so then what we have to do is investigate whether or not new credit was opened. If it was, we have to get all kinds of statements, and then we have to refigure your debt to income ratio. And, so outside of the fact that it creates a lot of work for you and me and the realtor, it also could possibly cause you to lose the house. So it's just not worth the risk. Wait till you close, then you can go buy what you need to buy.
We're probably about to get a little dog barking here in a second. Maybe not.
Nope, he's used to that guy.
Missy, have you had any type of scenarios like that where something came up, everything was good to go, and don't say any names or personally identifying information or anything like that, but something where everything looked good to go, and then the buyer made a decision, right? And the decision was not a good one, or not even necessarily not a good one, but just one that they maybe weren't aware that it was going to affect that process.
So I've not, but I go in when I start working with somebody. I always give them lots of warnings about not doing that. I have had one guy saying that his truck broke down and he ended up trading it in during the transaction. But he did okay it with the lender first, had them notified them and asked them, hey, is this going to hurt my transaction? Thankfully, it didn't. But he didn't tell me that he did confirm with it first, and he shows up in a new truck, and
kind of freaked you out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I about had a heart attack.
Yeah.
But I've been really fortunate, and I think it's probably a lot to go with hooking them up with the good lenders and making sure that they understand the things that are going to affect their credit score in the process.
Right. Yeah. So you can get things approved.
Yeah. Yeah, just because you go buy something doesn't mean you're not going to get your house. But, like she said, do your due diligence with your lender up front. Let them know what's going on. Find out if it's something that can wait a couple weeks until after you close, or if it's a necessity like the guy's truck broke down. Obviously, you have to be able to get back and forth to work. So sit down, talk to your lender, make sure they tell you, what kind of payments are going to be okay. And things like that, to make sure that they're prepared up front.
Right.
Because the surprise is the problem. It's not that we don't understand that things happen, or that just because you do something, we're not giving you a loan.
Right.
It's not that, but there's a lot of documentation that goes along with it, and we just got to make sure that you're doing everything the right way.
Gotcha. Missy had a great question earlier. I don't know if you remember what it was.
No.
She was going to ask you, what was do you have a story or anything that you can share that was kind of your
hardship,
like a hardship that you ran into, or a difficulty where you learned something that made you a better mortgage broker?
Yeah, I could probably think of a couple different things. Obviously,
we don't have that much time, but
yeah, okay, yeah. I was going to say I could probably go on. And that's the thing. As a mortgage lender, the laws are constantly changing, guidelines are constantly changing, so it's always a learning process. But luckily, I have a company that really supports me when it comes to my underwriting and my processing and things like that. So if I do make a mistake, which I do, they find ways to fix it for me. Luckily, I've never had anything that just completely stopped a loan from happening. But one of the thing that sticks out to me the most, there's two. The first one was I had a guy that he did his application, said he owned a house in Virginia. He was selling it, all this other stuff, and he was getting his loan. Well, I didn't get all of the proof that the house was being sold up front. Well, then come to find out the contract didn't go through, it wasn't accepted, so here we were fixing to close on the second home here in South Carolina, but the other one hadn't sold yet. So we had to jump through all kinds of hoops and things like that. That was on me, because I didn't, I took his word for it instead of doing the due diligence and making sure.
Next time.
Yeah, but next time you're going to give me that paper before, I do anything else. And then another one, I had a lady that, she was very adamant that her income was a certain amount. She was rushing. She was looking at a house. She wanted that house. She wanted to make an offer right then and there. Did the application, went through everything, said, well, hey, this is good to go. Well, then after doing that, we started working through all the paperwork, and come to find out, she had only been on her job for a short time frame, which isn't a problem. The income was there, but in the short time that she was there, she had actually been off work for 3 weeks out of the 3 months. So her average income dropped down a ton.
Gotcha.
So I've learned that even when they try to rush you, sometimes you just got to take a step back and slow down, and just make sure that you're,
It's such a complicated, real estate and real estate lending are both so complicated and intricate. There's so many little things that you have to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. And it takes time to learn all that stuff. Missy, do you have anything that you've run into that that you'd like to share?
I fail all the time,
but
okay. There's the whole thing fail forward, and so every time I do make a mistake, I learn. And you're not going to, you're never going to be immune from making mistakes. It's just making sure you don't make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
So yes, I've made a ton of mistakes in real estate, and I've shared some of them, but on my blog and
We've
things
got a
like
new
that.
vlog that'll share some of that
Yeah.
stuff.
But if you own it, I mean, most people are very understanding.
Right.
Every time I've made a mistake, whether it be, something small in the paperwork, which it happens. I mean, the paperwork that we have to go through is just insane. So there's times you can miss things, but if you talk to your buyer and you just tell them, hey, I'm sorry I missed this on the paperwork. Can you get this to me, or can we do that? And all the realtors, especially in Greenwood, I've noticed, and it's not just mistakes, just in general, when you need stuff and you need to take care of something, everybody works together really well to get things done. And I think that's really what's important, because, I can pretty much guarantee anybody that buys a house, it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
One side or the other, something's going to come up, whether it be title work from the sellers, or, there was something that wasn't signed on the contract that we have to get fixed later on down the road. Something on the appraisal that has to be dealt with. There's always something. It's never a perfect process. But, when you have a good team of people working together, it does make it a lot easier for everybody.
What do you do in your free time up here in the upstate of South Carolina? Where do you take the fam?
Well, free time has been pretty limited lately. Between work, we have
real estate.
we have 3 kids. I got a son that just turned 2 yesterday. My oldest daughter just turned 13 last month, and my middle kid, she'll be 8 next month. So the 2-year-old kind of keeps us a little confined. But we definitely love the lake. We love the beach. Anything with water. And I enjoy doing some hunting, but that's pretty few and far between.
I mean, that's very common down here, though.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about being located in the upstate, is that we have access to beaches within just a couple hours.
Yeah, mountains are just a couple hours away.
Greenwood's a great place to be and buy if you kind of want that diversity of lifestyle.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to give to somebody, let's say that they're going to sell their home and buy another home? What should they do they may need to take out a loan on the second. Should they talk to you before they sell their first home?
Yeah, I always recommend anytime you're doing anything transactional with the house, get with the realtor and get with the lender, because we're going to be basically your tool to get everything done for you. We have all the contacts for the contractors and the roofers and the carpet cleaners and the whatever else you may need, and also making sure that you're good to go for your next house, because most of the time when you're selling a house, it's because you're upgrading because you've had more kids, or your kids moved out, so you're downgrading, or something along those lines. So make sure all your finances are in order before you list your house, because I hate to see somebody list a house, get it under contract, and then they go to buy something else and find out they can't. So then they're stuck having to move in with a relative or in-laws or something until they can get everything fixed. So do all that stuff up front, be prepared. It'll make your life a million times easier.
Sure. Anything to add to that?
I've had situations where somebody's had things on their credit that wasn't necessarily even belong to them. So
Yeah.
even if you know that your credit is good and you don't think there should be any problems moving on, I definitely suggest before you even put your house on the market, talking to a lender and making sure that everything is where you really think it is.
Yeah,
Sure.
because identity theft is very
It's huge.
real.
Yeah.
I had
you
a
see that quite a
guy
bit.
not too long ago that he called me, told me credit was perfect, didn't have any issues. Pulled his credit, and sure enough, it was not. There was a ton of stuff on there. Turns out what happened was he had a twin brother. Their social security numbers were one number apart, and they were reporting some of his brother's stuff on his credit. So it was a relatively easy fix. We had it all straightened out in a week or two, but had he done that at the last minute, it probably would have messed him up. But because he came to me up front and said, hey, this is what I'm doing, I want to go ahead and get pre-approved, we were able to solve it before he even went under contract on anything.
That's awesome. Any restaurant suggestions? I'll throw one out there. I'd say in Greenwood, if you're in Greenwood and you want some fantastic Mexican food, you got to go to Alicia's.
Yes.
You got to go to
Oh,
Alicia's.
yeah.
If you
That's-
don't go to Alicia's, why did you even come here?
After I talked to you on the parking lot a while back,
Yeah.
we went to Alicia's. I don't remember if it was the same day. No, it was the next day. The next day we went to Alicia's, and now, anytime we eat Mexican, that's where we go.
good.
So Alicia's is where it's at. I've had some people tell me the new one, the El Centurion, is
I've
really
tried that
good.
one.
Haven't been there yet, but I heard it's really good. Alicia's awesome. Great, authentic Mexican
Yeah.
food.
Missy, you got
Love
one?
it.
Oh, don't put me on the spot.
There's one
I'll-
that we go to all the time.
Which one?
Masama.
Oh, yeah, Fusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fusion's
Fusion's
good.
The Masaman curry is to die for.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
They
There's
have a 3 p.m. Happy hour BOGO sushi if you're into that.
really.
Oh, yeah.
I
He
didn't
hits
know
it up
that.
all the
I'm
time.
gonna have to go check
you
that out.
doing?
I don't know what I'm doing.
You got
We
one
don't
more?
we don't go out a lot because of my 2-year-old. So
Right.
he has like a 5-minute sit still time frame, and then it's just all over. So, but when we do get to go, a nice just kind of me and the wife thing. Montague's, TJ, the owner over there, awesome guy. They put out some really good food. It's not like your typical chain restaurant where it's just all the same.
No, they do you right.
Yeah, in on the
kinda
square
fancy.
as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like to
and
go
that's
get
the thing.
drinks there.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, if you're if you're just wanting to go grab a quick bite or something, obviously these are like sit down, enjoy a little time, with just whoever it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There's another Danishes.
Danishes?
Where's that?
Yeah, the little
Is it-
Indian
do they-
restaurant. Never been
There's
there.
an Indian restaurant?
I didn't know.
It's, yeah.
It's a killer?
Yeah, yeah.
Where's it at?
Okay.
I'm awful with the name of roads.
we'll
So if
get
you
the
go
location.
up, where
Yeah.
Emerald High School is.
Yeah.
Go up, like if you're coming from here, you'll go up that road, take a left at the light where it kind of veers back,
Okay.
and then go there and then take a right.
Okay.
Right after like Key
So it's on
West.
the- it's on
like
that
a
side.
it's like a house just right there. You never know it was there, but
Probably great then.
yeah, the guys
That's where we're getting lunch tomorrow.
So we have
I think he just does dinner.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
we'll get dinner there. So we just have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
Let's do final thoughts. Missy, I'll start with you. Anything that we didn't talk about or that you want to add to the conversation that it kind of wasn't in there,
Goodness.
especially from a
hate doing
realtor's
this
perspective.
You're full of knowledge. come on.
Realtor's perspective, I would say get your crap together. Go ahead
your
and
crap
gather the
together.
documents that you heard Joel list off, and just have them ready. And go ahead and have that up front. One of the biggest frustrations I see a lot of people deal with when working through the purchase of a home is that a lender will keep coming back and asking for more and more and more. But if you go ahead and have all that documents up front that they ask for, it's going to save you a lot of headache. I think a lot of times they've already been asked for it. They just forget to get it, and so it's not really the lender being annoying. It's them not doing their job and staying on top of what they're supposed to do to buy the house.
Gotcha. Joel?
And just to kind of add to that a little bit, as a buyer, you have to understand that just because you send us your bank statements, and if we have to ask for something else, it's not because we're trying to get the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll see something on your bank statement that triggers something else. If there was a non-payroll deposit of $1,000 cash or a check, whatever it is, we have to source that. We have to know where it's coming from.
Right.
So it's not that we're trying to nitpick you to death, but we are regulated. So we have to do certain things to give you this house. And it's not that I want to do it. I mean, I'd love to just get you to sign a couple pieces of
There you
paper
go.
and show me how much money you have in the bank and
Right.
close on it for you, but it's not that simple. So,
Right.
my biggest thing, I think, is just be honest up front. Don't go to the realtor and tell you're pre-approved if you're not. Don't tell me that you make more money than you really do. Don't try to over-exaggerate your situation to make it sound better, because we'll find out. We have to go through all this documentation. So let us know up front whatever you think your issues may be. Let us work through it with you and get it done up front instead of hoping for the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we just have about a minute left, so I did want to quickly throw out that Flynn's is having live music this week, Friday night and Saturday from 5 to 7. So that's not an every week thing, but if you get out here and check them out, come grab you a beer and some pretzels and stuff like that and hang out and listen to some live music. This has been Melissa Cowart, again with Redgate Realty, Joel Ridings with Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group, and I'm David Bliss with 11A Media Group, and we'll see you later.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
I think that was pretty good.